Hi, we're group number 6. Today we will be presenting our behavioral intervention plan. The goal is reduce Instagram use. We're from Florida International University, and the group members are Elizabeth Saavedra, Brenda Arribas Rufin, and Abdel Castro Diaz. So basically, our target behavior is the use of the Instagram app. Operational definition. Well, it's any instance of the individual attempting to enter the Instagram app from any device at any time. This includes checking notifications, opening the app and start scrolling, checking messages, or posting via phone, computer, or similar devices. Orational and social significance. Well, excessive Instagram use is interfering with task competition, focus, social engagement for the 3 participants. And this behavior was self-identified as problematic, leading to procrastination and emotional dependence. Reducing this behavior supports improved daily functioning, healthier habits, and greater emotional self-regulation.
As some of the ethical considerations, we can anticipate the risk or the discouragement or demotivation for getting to check tracking apps or the data that we're gonna log and ensuring the privacy of self-monitoring. Like we're gonna be the ones doing the monitoring on ourselves. And so to solve that, we're gonna practice in signed consent forms, and we're gonna agree, all of us, in using the apps to track the data that we're gonna share. And of course, we're gonna agree on sharing the same data we're collecting. And as type of preventions, we're gonna do group supports, and we're gonna have a clear communication, and we're gonna do fidelity checks on each other.
So we're going to start off with research summary, study one. The first research we use, it's titled Reducing Problematic Social Media Use Via a Package Intervention. The author was Stinson L. and Dayeri J. And it was published in 2023 from Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. So basically, this study examines whether behavior package could reduce excessive social media use among college students. The research aims to see if reducing screen time would also improve outcomes like mental health, sleep, and academic performance. 9 college students aged between 18 to 22 scored high on an internet addiction test participated in this study. Participants were selected based on their self-reported struggles with limiting social media use. The independent variable, it's a multi-component behavior intervention that included contingency management, rewards for meeting goals, automated reminders, and engaging in self-selected alternative activities. Dependent variables. Daily time spent on social media, which is measured via smartphone apps and scored on the internet addiction test. When the intervention was introduced, participants showed a steady and meaningful decrease in time spent on social media. The multiple baseline design confirmed a functional relationship between the intervention and the behavior change. Participants also improved their internet addiction test scores, suggesting broader benefits beyond reduced screen time.
Okay, so our second research summary was titled Toward a Technology of Derived Stimulus Relations. The authors was Ruth and Rehoffeld. Sorry. It was published in 2011 by the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. Rehoffeld 2011 conducted a comprehensive review of every article related to a stimulus equivalence or derived stimulus relations published in Java between 1992 and 2009. The author examined key characteristics such as participant types, settings, procedurals format, like automatic versus tabletop, stimulus modalities, target relational outcomes, emerge skills, and if the studies assess generalization and maintenance. So the independent variable were the characteristics of published studies, including participants, instructional modalities, target relationship, target relations, type of procedures, presence or absence of generalization, and maintenance measures. The dependent variables were measure of observed across the review articles, such as types of the relationships achieved, like equivalence and symmetry, demonstrated emergent skills in participants, evidence of generalizations across contexts, and maintenance of derivable relationships over time. So the published report suggested that the possibility of applied technologies, but left the difficult work of technology development to future investigations. Most studies successfully taught derived stimulus relations under well-controlled laboratory conditions. Example, matching to sample task. Few incorporated automated or real-world training formats, and even fewer evaluated generalizations or long-term maintenance.
Titled Effects of Technology-Based Self-Management Intervention on Social Media Use in a College Student. The author is Megan Gandonun and C Campus. It was published in 2024 by the Behavior Analysis in Practice. This single case study examined whether the technology-based self-management intervention could reduce excessive social media use in a college student. The participant was a 22-year-old woman, and she reported difficulties limiting her time on Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit. The intervention include self-monitoring by the Apple Screen Time app and antecedent delays via the ClearSpace app, where the user had to wait before accessing to the apps. The independent variable on this study was the technology-based self-management intervention, considering of self-monitoring using the Screen Time app that delayed and the other app that delayed the access to the applications for like 10 to 30 seconds. And then the dependent variable was the duration of the use of these apps during the day. So as a result, they find out that the participant at the beginning averaged around like 96 minutes on a day going through social media. And when the intervention self-monitoring start working with the 10-second delay was introduced, the usage of the application dropped to 19 minutes per day. Removing the delay of self-monitoring increased the use again to 121 to 161 minutes a day. So now when they use 30 seconds to open the app, the use of the app dropped to 0 minutes.
Right here, we have the summary of the behavior assessment that we did. The assessment that we chose was the motivating assessment scale, MOS. This assessment is appropriate for us to identify the functions of why the behavior occurs naturally. The primary function was actually sensory, automatic reinforcement, and then the secondary function was tangible and escape in some cases. So down below, you can see Brenda's. She has sensory as being the highest, and then she also has tangible and escape. For Elizabeth, sensory was the highest, as well as tangible, and lastly escape. And we have the same for Abdel.
So basically, the antecedent behavior consequent recordings we have through the 3 participants let us know that the primary function of the behavior for the three of us was sensory, as evidenced by visual and auditory stimulation. The second most common function among participants was to provide access to the preferred content. Basically, supported sensory and changeable patterns across context. We can see Elizabeth, which antecedents were mainly working on a difficult task and feeling left out after seeing friends hanging out. So the behavior was the one established that was opening Instagram and start scrolling. And the consequence for this behavior was Elizabeth got access to preferred videos and images by using Instagram. This is considered tangible. Then for sensory, we have Elizabeth was bored during a quiet moment, or she was alone in her room. Again, the behavior was opening the Instagram app and start scrolling, and the consequence was experiencing ongoing visual and auditory stimulation. This counts as sensory. For Brenda, she was alone. She had a long time at home with no external influences. This triggered the behavior of opening the Instagram app and starting scrolling and watching reels. The consequence of this was experience entertainment and visual stimulation through the videos, what is considered mainly sensory. Finally, we have Abdel, who the antecedent was cooking and waiting for the water to boil or stop at a red light while driving. The behavior was described as opening the Instagram app and starting browsing while standing. And for the one antecedent of driving on the red light and waiting the red light was to quick check and scroll a few posts. Basically, the consequence was got a brief visual and auditory stimulation while waiting. So it's gonna be sensory.
For the summary of the treatment plan, the antecedents and strategies that we're gonna use are the device placement. So we're gonna try to remove the phone during the risk times like work, study, social situations, doing chores. And we're gonna rationale that reducing the impulsive access and decrease the response of going straight to Instagram. We also gonna use technology blockers like the 1sec app, which is interrupts the access to the app by presenting a delay screen, and you have to like wait for that screen to go off until you get on Instagram, and that's gonna build up the natural pause that allows us to reflect if we really want to go to the app because we need to, it's just to pass time. And the time reminders were going to help us too. We're going to set an alarm at 11 p.m. to set a reminder that we have to log the data that we collected during the day. And this prompts to increase the task completion and accountability, replicated by the setting a daily recurring alarm on a smartphone device.
Another part of the treatment plan is the reinforcement strategies. One of the strategies that we're using is positive reinforcement. This is more for a tangible or activity-based reward. Every time we meet the goal, it should be an immediate reinforcement. But the rationale would be providing immediate reinforcement following appropriate behavior strengthens the likelihood of the behavior recurring. Rewards are pre-selected by each participant, meaning I may enjoy going for watching a movie. Brenda may actually want to go running, and Abdel may want to go painting. So we pre-select our own rewards based on what we consider it's appropriate for us. The second strategies that we're using is draw, differential reinforcement of alternative. This is reinforcement that is only delivered when we engage in one of the pre-identified behaviors. And we actually have three of those options. That would be journaling, walking, or reading. So every time we engage in these behaviors, we are able to get reinforcement. And basically, draw helps shift the behavior towards more adaptive alternative by rewarding them while withholding reinforcement for undesired behavior. The third one would be social reinforcement. Basically, this is part of us weekly checking in. We do weekly groups, we check in, we give each other verbal praise, we give each other support, advice on on the best way to meet our goals and engage in alternative activities. And by doing so, we are basically being held accountable socially and encouraging motivation and creating a community of reinforcement.
So basically, our replacement behaviors they have to be functionally equivalent replacement behaviors to meet our goal. Will be journaling, is defined as spending 10 minutes writing about thoughts, goals, reflections, or life events. Maybe reading, that would be spending 10 minutes minimum on a book, article, or audiobook, not related to school or work topics. Walking or light exercise will be going for 10-15 minutes walk outdoor, like stretching or something like that. Original is that these behaviors provide similar sensory stimulation, and it provides mental breaks or escape from non-preferred activities, but they are not the target behavior. So they are easily accessible and self-reinforcing, what is very important.
So for the data, we have a baseline that it was tracked on frequency, and we were measuring how often we were getting into Instagram, like how often we were getting into the app. And the baseline trends show that Elizabeth got into the app from 8 to 18 times during the day. Brenda did it from 12 to 30 times during the day. And I did it between 15 and 22 times during the day. All this information, like all the participants showed reduction in frequency, me having the most stable consistency drop. Somebody really reminded that the trends now are going downward.
So this is the baseline across participants, sorry, the multiple baseline across participant. We have me, Elizabeth, started with moderate Instagram. I was going in the app about 8 to 18 times in a day, with the moderate variability. After the intervention, it actually helped decrease my variability and showing a moderate positive effect. On the other hand, we have Brenda. She had the highest and most variable usage during baseline, which she was logging in about 12 to 30 times a day. After the intervention, her usage decreased significantly and became more stable, indicating a clear reduction in both average use and variability. And lastly, Abdel, he began with 15 to 22 daily Instagram uses and an increasing trend. After the intervention, his usage showed the strongest decrease and became more stable, reflecting the most significant positive response to the intervention.
So basically, our future directions and limitations of the study. First, the limitation will be the inconsistent self-monitoring of social pressure and emotional triggers interfered as being part of the environment. Rewards not always being immediately placed, so they weren't that reinforcing, and no participant met full mastery criteria during intervention. Because of this, our future directions would be continue to track behavior after the initial intervention to achieve mastery criteria, increase immediacy of reinforcers, explore additional support for generalization, and add peer mentoring in future designs. These were the references from the articles we use in the summary research, and that will be all for Team 6.
Bye.
Bye.